Does the government really want wages to increase? I'm Matt.
And I'm Eliza.
And we're economists.
Matt, what's the first question today?
Our first question today is about the Wage Price Index, or the WPI for those in the know. The data came out recently, so what's been happening with wages?
Well, wages have been stagnant for the last 7 years, something that people probably have experienced themselves. And the latest wage figures suggest that this trend will continue. In the March quarter, this year, overall wages grew by 0.6%, and this was primarily driven by the private sector. And this is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because wage growth dropped by around 0.1% throughout the middle of last year.
So they went back, wages actually went backwards.
Yeah, wages dropped considerably during COVID, and the biggest drop was in the private sector, which, because of course they were
all shut down,
and not protected by bargaining agreements like the public sector is. But this also means that the private sector had more ground to make up this last quarter or the last couple of quarters. So that's why we've seen strong private sector wage growth, and we've seen quite a significant increase in wages, but still only 0.6%.
How much of wages, rather than just for the quarter, how much have wages grown throughout the year?
Well, wages have grown 1.5% throughout the year.
Yeah, and so to put that in context, wages traditionally have grown at about 3.5%, so that's really quite low.
Absolutely. And so when are we expecting wages to rise, Matt?
Yeah, so wages is part of a big conversation, and we've heard a lot of people, the government, the Reserve Bank saying that wages should go up, but when will they go up? Well, there's a lot of talk that when unemployment gets down to where there's a 4 in the front, so it's 4 point something percent, that then we will see wages increase. The problem with this is I don't think that that's actually correct. So in about 2017, 2018, unemployment got down to about 5%. It was consistently around 5%. And at that time, we still didn't see any wages growth. So it doesn't look like there's a strong link at the moment between unemployment and wages. And so the problem we have is wages will go up when unemployment gets to 4%. Well, if we get to 4% and it doesn't, then they'll say, oh, well, wages will go down when it gets to 3%. It's almost like the donkey following the carrot on the fishing pole. You know, it's always walking towards it, but it's never getting there. So I think that's actually just a rhetorical trick that we're seeing, where, you know, don't worry, wages will eventually rise when this thing happens in the future. But whether it will or not, I think there's big question marks around that. Why aren't wages going up then?
Well, for a range of reasons, mostly because the power of workers over the last couple of decades has been considerably eroded. Firstly, structural bargaining arrangements for workers have been cut back, so very few people are covered by collective bargaining agreements in Australia. The government also introduced strict caps on public sector wage growth last year. And also, we're all really familiar with the rhetoric that the government's coming out with around unions and how negative that is. And it's reflected in union density in Australia, which is really, really low. And the last point is that insecure work in Australia and gig work is on the rise, and this also decreases the power of workers to be able to go to their boss and say, I need a pay rise or I deserve a pay rise. And so as a result, we're seeing that wages are stagnant and workers have no power or very little power to be able to ask for more money.
It's as if we've spent 30 years making the industrial relations more flexible, that we spent 30 years trying to suppress wages, and that after 30 years of trying to suppress wages, we've succeeded.
We have.
You know, we've actually succeeded, and now it's really difficult to get a wage rise.
Absolutely. So, Matt, is the government doing anything about this?
Yeah, so the government say that they're interested in wages going up, but I don't actually think that they're at all interested in wages going up. I know it might be a bit controversial, but mainly because there's a number of things that they could do to help wages go up. So the government is the biggest employer in Australia. So and at the moment, what are they doing with public sector wages? Well, they're suppressing public sector wages. They don't want to give the public sector a pay increase. Now, if they were to give them a pay increase, then that would help wages grow. The other thing that the government could influence is the minimum wage case that happens every year. And at the moment, the government is not interested in wages going up. In fact, they've made noises that they think that because of the recession, the minimum wage should almost be static or not go up very much at all. So again, there's around 40% when you include the awards that are linked to the minimum wage of workers are actually linked to that. So if they were to encourage in this wage case for the minimum wage to go up by a lot, then we would see wages rise. And finally, at the moment, there's a special case for health workers. So health workers, say a nurse working in an aged care home, actually gets paid less than a nurse with the same qualifications in a hospital. And so there's a wage case on at the moment to increase the wages of those working in our aged care sector. And the government is not supportive of it at all. So that, again, would help increase wages. So every time the government has an opportunity to increase wages or influence them going up, they're saying, no, we're not interested in it, sorry, we don't want to do that. And yet they say, well, we want wages to rise. It's almost as if, wages should rise magically, but nobody should get a pay rise. And, it's just completely silly.
Yeah, definitely doesn't work like that.
If you'd like us to answer one of your questions, you can send one in to mail@australiainstitute.org.au and make sure you include Ask an Economist in the subject line.